let's turn the page to college football here for just a minute. So Craig and I have been having this discussion this week about the college football farming process, we'll call it, where we saw these ideas on X, and I don't remember exactly who it was that posed them, but I'll just not take credit for them. But the idea is, what would happen if you took some non-flagship schools that are close to bigger flagship universities and did private deals with them to make it easier to move a player from that school into your school. And the example that was given was like the University of North Carolina and then like a UNC Wilmington type of deal. Then we took the discussion further to say, what if something like the Big 12 cuts a deal with the Mountain West, where the transfer barriers are easier, where you're not going to have as much red tape coming from one place to another, and they basically set up this minor league structure to make it more conducive. You know how coaches used to send guys to JUCO, but the idea was, hey, we're going to come back around and get you when you get into the right spot. And you just kind of had this handshake agreement with these JUCO coaches to know that, like, hey, people are going to come recruit him if he does what we think he's going to do, but we've already got a leg up. This would take it a step further, where there would be some contractuality between the two parties to say, hey, we're sending guys here for developmental purposes. Can you see us going there? Is there a world where we're sliding into that path? I see you smirking. Go ahead and give it to us.
I'm just like, so you're basically turning like UNC Wilmington into a JUCO. That's really what you're doing. Listen, it's a fun like think tank idea. You know, like these guys sit around these think tanks and come up with like all these ideas and what happens if this happens. You know, we would do this. Here's what I want. You know, my father had a saying. He's like, son, once you get past 35, all you really are going to want is cold beer and hot food. Just keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Why don't we just have rules for everybody that make sense and work? Like, I don't think we have to go and branch off and have these side deals. Why don't we fix the transfer portal windows on the calendar, which I actually think they're going to do? And then why don't we have, whether it's these NIL contracts, consequences for both sides, where if the player does not live up to that commitment or goes somewhere, just like with my job, I'm guessing just like with y'all's job, there is a consequence for not living up to your end of the bargain, whether that be financial or whatever. Where I'm worried about where we're going, and I like that the House settlement, we have a couple rules now, but it still doesn't put an end, because there's no collective bargaining agreement to the litigation that's going to happen. Like, they're still going to sue. They're still going to sue. But now moving forward, what I want with this breakaway Super League that we're going to go to, I don't know how many teams it's going to be, 40 or 50. Why don't we just have a piece of paper, just like when you sign your NLI, that says if you want to play at this place, at LSU, for example, and LSU is a member of this Super League, your NLI, when you sign it, is saying you agreed to adhere to all the rules of this Super League, or there is a consequence. Like, I feel like, and it was all screwed up when they released NIL and the transfer portal and all this other stuff without any rules. And then they're shocked that it's just the Wild West. Like, it's the most least surprising thing of all time. It's like Dr. Frankenstein let the monster out in the village, and then he's surprised when the monster's ripping their legs and arms off and beating them to death right next to the pub. So I want one set of rules for everybody. That's what I want. And I want it buttoned up, and I want it concrete. And I want to say, if you do an NIL deal and you sign this contract, you have to be here at least 2 years. You leave before that or whatever, take another deal, you've got to pay back this amount.
Jake,
and it prepares people for the real world.
Jake, I'm sorry, my friend. Who was the starting pitcher for LSU today? Anthony Ianson, right? Where did he go to school last year?
God.
University of California, San Diego.
God, that's a great
campus. He's from California.
Mm-hmm.
I love the spirit of that you bring, but I'm going to be honest. LSU wants the farm system. Alabama wants the farm system. Auburn wants the farm system. Georgia wants the farm system. Let these kids go play over there. If you're good enough, you're going to be the 5-star. You're going to come play in the Super League. It's called the SEC.
So are you saying, though, you don't sign with Georgia? Like, they're like, all right, no, you just go over here and we'll pay for your cafeteria.
Let the free market.
food.
No, I'm saying let the free market play. Let them go. Let them go play there. Don't have UNC Wilmington automatically be the JUCO. Let it just play out exactly the way it is. You know what, if they're a 5-star or they're a 4-star, you look at who was Miami's quarterback? Why am I so suddenly blanking on the used quarterback?
Say that again.
Year. Who was
Miami? Would be Cam Ward.
Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
So Cam Ward worked his way all the way up, right? Started at Houston Baptist, went to Washington State, ended at Miami. In your scenario, Cam Ward is forever locked out of the Super League.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is once you decide to go to that school with the Super League. So like if Cam Ward was an incarnate word, right, which is where he started.
Right.
And then Washington State was a part of the Super League. When Cam Ward says, you know what, I want to transfer from incarnate word, which was not in the Super League, to Washington State, that in this scenario would be in the Super League, then he has to sign that, just like he signs the scholarship at Washington State. He signs that in there. So the problem would then become, how much money are you having to pay UNC Wilmington to keep that afloat to just go steal their players? I don't know if you could replicate that even if you're at a big school to 3 to 4 different places. And if it's like, at least with JUCOs, if I want to go get a guy from the KJCC, I can. If I want to go get a guy from the Mississippi JUCO colleges, I can. Limiting that to me limits where the players can go to, right? So you'd be telling the player.
Yeah, it does.
So I think we're arguing the same thing. I just don't think we have the contractual agreements below. Like, to me, I would rather just keep it as it is now with the transfer window, because at the end of the day, the biggest.
But one transfer window, right? Can we agree on that?
No, I'll go 2 because you got to right size your roster in the spring.
I know I'm poking because I knew what you were going to say.
But the biggest part too is coaches also have to protect their rear ends, because even if I lock you in for 2 years, Brock Vandegrift was a 5-star. He almost beat out Georgia to be or beat out Carson Beck to be the number 1 quarterback. He then goes to Kentucky and he lays an egg, and then he retires. You want to be able to get that out so that you can be able to cover yourself against the bus. So to me, I think you just kind of leave it as it is. I don't see it locking it in, because I think the coaches want the flexibility. The coaches will say, and they'll complain, just like you have Wisconsin now suing Miami for tampering. But here's the deal: that's how you're going to get your players.
Everybody tampers, tampering. You'll never. I just like let it play out. Let the market kind of play out. Let these guys kind of come and go. And if they do, more often than not, if you're good enough as a coach, good enough as a program, it'll all take care of itself. So again, I'm trying to make sure that I understand what you're saying. So you're saying if Kirby Smart at Georgia said, "Hey, Brock Vandegrift, we're basically demoting you. We're gonna send
he did demote him
to UNC." Well, what I'm saying is, then that coach gets to choose where the player goes.
No. I'm saying I don't want Rob's. I'm contractually obligated to send Georgia players to Georgia State or Georgia Southern. I'm just saying, hey,
For the record, that's not Rob's plan. That was just me throwing out an idea that we discussed.
Sounds better when I say Rob's plan, by the way.
Was not Rob's plan.
Well, Craig, so let me ask you this. So, we can't talk about that without factoring in NIL.
Yep.
So now that I paid the players and I sign you and I say, "Hey, Arch Manning, I'm Steve Sarkisian. I'm signing you, and there's an NIL deal that's going to be in this. Are we, as a school, are going to pay you this amount of money to come here?" Yep. You don't think there should be a contract that sticks the player to the school or the school to the player?
It's like any other contract. There should be there should be a buyout. There should be something else. I know that we talked to Tony Saragusa a couple of weeks ago, and they talked about that 12th payment for December comes in January instead of December, to make sure that you played in the bowl game, to make sure you've been on the roster. If I'm Arch Manning, I've got my contract. I'm getting paid as long as I'm on Texas's roster. If I leave, I no longer get that money. I no longer get that NIL money.
Yeah, well, then me and you agree. You agree.
Yep.
So yeah, that's all.
We just come at it a different way. That's all.
Yeah. I just want accountability on both, because I think
Yep.
it's the worst thing to teach our young people, that it's like, oh yeah, you signed this contract, but
Yep.
you don't have to live up to it. Then all of a sudden Brock Vandergrift doesn't play football anymore, and I'm not saying he does this, and he goes and works as an accountant, and then doesn't understand why the company just fired him because the contract he signed said he had to work 5 days a week and he showed up 3. Like I just,
Right.
so we agree.